Because America is absolutely the worst, we couldn't even get through a high-profile case like Derek Chauvin's without having an incredibly similar and some recurring thematic ways issue, and in fact, very close by. And here I'm referencing the big tragic story coming out of this weekend. That is that police shot and killed a black man on Sunday during a stop for a traffic violation. Part of the story we're gonna return to, sparking protests and unrest in a suburb just miles away from where George Floyd was killed during an arrest in Minneapolis last May. This is Brooklyn Center. The man killed by police was identified by relatives and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as Daunte Wright, a 20-year-old, and you can see him here in this picture. Just want to get that out there because God only knows what pictures Fox is going to be running with later on today. So that's what he actually looks like. Absolutely tragic during a traffic violation, which we're going to give you more details on. Totally needless. The fact that it's so close there, just look, let's give you the details on what apparently happened. Brooklyn Center Police said in a statement that officers had stopped a motorist shortly before 2 p.m. Sunday. After determining the driver had an outstanding warrant, police tried to arrest the driver. The driver re-entered the vehicle and an officer fired at the vehicle again during a traffic stop, fired his gun, which he put into his hand. For some reason, during a traffic stop, he drew his firearm and began discharging it into a vehicle because it was so high stakes. Obviously, you had to risk killing this person during the traffic violation, because if they'd gotten away, that would have been a tragedy, not murder. Murder is not the tragedy from the point of view of most cops. It's I gotta get back in my car and follow someone if they leave. And we have no idea if he was going to. But let's say he had. They would have had to have followed him. And that can't be abided. And so let's kill him. Let's just kill him so we don't have to follow him. Anyway, they obviously struck him, killed him. And by the way, many of the stories use the incredibly police-friendly, they fired their weapon, striking him, and then he died language. They killed him. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to be an Ernest Hemingway about this, but I feel like we can condense those sentences, turn the passive into an active. They killed him. That's what they tried to do when they fired his gun, and they were successful. So since that was their goal and they nailed it, let's give them credit for the murder that they committed. And not sort of just pretend, I don't know, bullets go places and sometimes people die. Who's to say what causality is in this circumstance? Anyway, we have more information. I apologize that I've gone on for a very long time. Francesca, what are your thoughts so far about this case?
No, I think it's important to get the context, and sadly, it mirrors so many cases. And this is why there are calls to defund the police, because at what point has the police proven time and time again, if someone constantly and consistently fails at doing their job, fails at de-escalating a situation, at what point do you say, okay, well, we're gonna actually not give you all the money that you need or that you are wanting because you can't do your job, right? We need to actually move this money out of that. You cannot be responsible for policing the streets. You are not responsible for keeping us safe. And matter of fact, maybe take away your gun. I'm serious about this. What would happen? Let's just try it. Let's try it for a week. Oh, you can still have a taser. You can still have a rubber bullet gun, which you have unloaded on unarmed demonstrators for, including in this case. But it is just how many times do we need to be proven that the police have failed at their jobs, that they need to be radically reformed and remade, and how many more people have to die? How many more families? He's pictured there with his son, a 1-year-old. How many more families are going to be destroyed by this? So it is fitting that it's happening in Minnesota because it proves that the police in Minnesota haven't learned. They haven't, or in Minneapolis. Are we in Minneapolis?
This is Brooklyn Center, but it's not far, obviously.
Right. It proves that basically, despite George Floyd being murdered, and despite the massive outcry and despite the Derek Chauvin trial, police haven't learned. They still haven't learned. And my question is, like, to you, John, to everybody, when will police be afraid? When are they going to be afraid to use lethal force? When are they going to be afraid of the consequences? And look, maybe Derek Chauvin gets off real easy. Maybe he gets the years that he probably deserves, that he definitely deserves, but it's systemic. It is bigger than this trial. It is about making sure that, this is gonna be, if he is convicted, one in so many cases where the police officer got off.
Yeah, and And like, look, obviously, when you talk about the prospect of convicting a cop, if they did it, then it's justice for them to go away. But I think that also, whether it's made explicit or not, it's the idea that that should affect other cops and maybe change their behavior. But I don't know, will it? Like, I have naive expectations sometimes for people's ability to learn from what's going on in the country, probably because I'm in a bubble of paying too much attention to the news. But like, when there's like a rash of Karens, I'm kind of surprised when someone does something super Karenish. Like, wait, but didn't we just go through all this? Didn't you see how awful this was? And in the same way, after the killing of Floyd, you would think every cop has got to be thinking about this now, and that's obviously unrealistic. But how about like if it was a couple of miles away? How about if you're a cop from that exact area and the trial's going on right now? Maybe you at least could be thinking about it, but no, apparently not. They're still just as ready to pull their gun at the drop of any plausible explanation for why they, at that point, has to kill someone.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.